I was ashamed of being Inuk when I was younger, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. I'm actually really proud today.
What it means to be Indigenous here is to really understand how much the system is against me.
Nicole Janis Qavavauq-Bibeau and Ocean Lewis are Indigenous youth living in Quebec. They agree that the provincial government must acknowledge systemic racism exists, something they have refused to do since the death of Joyce Echaquan last September. But both of them have different ideas of what it means to be Indigenous in Quebec in 2021.
The Premier of Quebec, who actually denied that the systemic racism exists, I think that just is telling of the denial of the issues that go on in Quebec, how the problems with the homeless population, with the medical care, with education, it's all because of that denial. The healthcare system doesn't exactly appreciate us being in hospital a few times, not being taken seriously, or just being examined on the physical stuff, being neglected in terms of my mental health treatment. Since I do have diagnoses for mental health disorders, as well as the education system, I find there is a serious lack of awareness on the history of this land.
If you talk to an Indigenous person, they probably know somebody who died of suicide, was murdered, or they're missing somebody in their family. And it's like, it's not a normal thing growing up.
The Quebec and federal governments recently unveiled plans for a simplified portal to help local Indigenous communities to go for support over former residential schools. This following the discovery of the remains of 215 Indigenous children at a former Kamloops residential school in BC. 6 former residential schools and several federal hostels and day schools have been identified as having operated in the province.
When the ship goes missing or like a plane goes missing, we're going to no doubt look for the plane or the ship, and we're going to try to see and learn what happened and try to not reproduce the same thing. Well, why is it when Indigenous people are involved, it becomes a question, or it becomes like a luxury instead of a necessity?
Hopefully this sparks calls to action from settler allies, from non-Indigenous people, that we have all been lied to, that residential schools were a tool in genocide by the Canadian government, and that there's so many more that have yet to be talked about.
As they continue to fight for truth, recognition, and understanding for Indigenous youth in Quebec, it's about being seen, accepted, and embracing who they are.
You can't change who you are. Like, you can't put an apple seed in like the soil and hope it turns into like a Layla tree, you know?
In Montreal, Samsara Rainville, City News.